Okay, welcome back. Today we're continuing our BCBA exam practice question series where we're going through the next set of practice questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. If you're looking for proven study materials, please check out behavioranalyststudy.com. We offer 3 practice exams, a task list study guide, and of course our combo pack. As always, questions and comments, let us know. Work hard, study hard. Let's get to our questions. Question 1. Bobby is training a group of new chefs for his latest restaurant that specializes in hand pies. This morning, Bobby asked the chefs to create 5 hand pies for him to try. When Bobby took his first bite, he told them it tasted horrible and that they needed to redo the assignment and make 30 more hand pies as well. This is a type of what? Quite a lot going on in the question, and it's a long question. Long questions, we're not panicking, we're not jumping to the answer choices, we're pausing and we're making sure we understand what the question is asking of us. The question is asking, what is Bobby doing? And what we're looking at is Bobby's response into taking the first bite, thinking it's horrible, and telling them to redo the assignment to make 30 more hand pies as well. So if he needs them to create 5 hand pies for him to try, they don't do a good job. He then asks them to redo it and then make 30 more as well. What is he making them do? A, restitutional overcorrection. Remember, with restitutional overcorrection, we're repairing whatever was broken or messed up, and then we're repairing other aspects of the environment to a better state than they were before. Are they repairing things and then repairing other aspects of the environment? No, they're having to redo the skill over and over and over again. So that brings us to overcorrection. We have negative practice overcorrection and positive practice overcorrection. Now, with negative practice overcorrection, this is when we ask the learner or the student or the client to engage in the wrong behavior multiple times. We need you to do what you did incorrectly over and over and over again in an attempt to punish it. With positive practice overcorrection, we're attempting to ask the learner or the student or the client to engage in the correct behavior over and over and over again. So by Bobby asking the chefs to redo the assignment, make the 5 hand pies, and then make an additional 30, he's trying to get them to do the correct behavior and do it over and over and over and over again. So this is essentially positive practice overcorrection. And then D, negative punishment. Well, while he's trying to implement a punishment procedure, it is not a negative punishment procedure. He's not removing anything from the environment as a consequence. He's adding the stipulation that now not only do you need to redo the assignment, you also need to do it over and over and over again 30 more times. So Bobby is engaging in, or he's implementing positive practice overcorrection. Hakeem is visiting a foreign country for the first time. He decides to attend a show at the local theater. Hakeem is not sure how to respond to different acts, so he observes the people around him and follows their lead. The people around him are considered what? All right, so Hakeem, he is in this foreign country, and we're really focused on the people around him, actually, not so much what Hakeem is doing, but the people around him. And it's really important on the exam that you hone in on who or what the question is asking about. Sometimes there are multiple people in a question, maybe multiple settings. You need to identify, what am I looking at? And we're looking at the people around Hakeem. So he goes to a show. He responds. He's not sure how to respond to different acts. So he starts to observe the people around him and follow their lead. So Hakeem is doing what? Well, he's essentially imitating, right? He's imitating the people around him. Now, if he's imitating the people around him, they are acting as models. But are they planned models or unplanned models? Well, they're not planned models because nobody contrived these people just to be there for Hakeem. Hakeem is able to imitate and pick up on what they're doing. They're modeling for Hakeem, but not intentionally. That makes them unplanned models. Unplanned models are just uncontrived. They're more naturalistic. They're just occurring, and then imitation occurs as a result of observing the unplanned models. It isn't a contrived contingency because the people around him are not contrived. They're in the natural environment, doing their natural thing. Hakeem is simply imitating them. And then movement cues. Remember, that word cue just means prompt. So are these movement prompts? They're not. A movement prompt is when you point at something or you gesture at something. Remember, there's a whole type of prompt that is just modeling prompt. So don't get movement and physical and modeling prompts all confused. They're three different things. What's occurring here is Hakeem is imitating these models around him, and they're unplanned. So the people around him are going to be considered unplanned models. A grant is typically a sum of money given to a team to engage in study or research. When writing a grant, the grant must be comprehensive, easy to understand, and repeatable. What dimension of ABA is reflected in this description? This is an easy question. Doesn't matter if you don't know what a grant is, doesn't matter if you don't understand what they're saying a grant is. It's a very easy question as far as dimensions of ABA go. Because if we look at one word here, it's going to give us essentially what we're looking for. And what word is that? Well, we're looking at the word repeatable. They want the grant to be not only comprehensive and easy to understand, but also repeatable. Similar to our treatment plans, our behavior plans, our lesson plans, we want those things to be repeatable as well. And what do we call that as far as dimensions of ABA are concerned? A, generality. Is there any mention of generalization here? There is not. All we know is a grant is comprehensive, easy to understand, and repeatable. It says nothing about generalizing it. Repeatable might just mean in the same classroom or clinic over and over again. No generalization required. We can't make the assumption they're talking about generality given the information. B, technological. Here we go, right? Technological says what we're writing down, what we're creating, needs to be repeatable by others around us. Ideally, your treatment plans would be so technological that any naive learner could read it, understand it, and attempt to implement it. And that's what we're saying here. The grant needs to be repeatable. What about analytical? Are we trying to talk about functional control here? We're not. Again, we're not making assumptions. All we know, comprehensive, easy to understand, repeatable, and then conceptually systematic. Did this grant mention anything about applied behavior analysis? It did not. So be careful there. Conceptually systematic, as far as our dimensions go, refer to ABA programming that we're implementing. If this grant has to do with a engineering firm that has nothing to do with ABA, conceptually systematic doesn't matter. Given the information, which is the only thing you should be using, all we know is this grant needs to be repeatable. That making this grant have to adhere to the dimension of technological. To prove to yourself that self-management works, you implement a self-management plan to decrease your procrastination. Which of the following interventions would be the most appropriate self-management intervention? Self-management gives people trouble. I don't think we study it enough. There's different aspects to self-management. The good news about self-management is it's relatively small in terms of how much material you need to learn. So you need to devote maybe a day or two to self-management where you really just hammer it home. That way, when you get self-management questions, you're a piece of cake. In this case, we're looking at the following interventions and what's the most appropriate for self-management. Now remember, self-management is what? Well, it's applying behavior principles to yourself to achieve a desired result. So you're applying behavior principles and behavior interventions, things like self-monitoring, self-analysis, self-talk, all these things to yourself. Okay, that's what we're looking for here. So A, an intervention that lets your partner choose your reinforcers and punishers. You're now veering away from self-management. Your partner shouldn't be choosing these reinforcers and punishers and consequences. Self-management, if you're going to do it for yourself, right? You are implementing a self-management plan that you made, okay? Your partner should not be choosing these consequences. B, an intervention that defines how and when you provide your own consequences. Good, right? It needs to lay out, like any other good plan, when a consequence is coming. And what's tricky about self-management is adhering to that plan. Because you can schedule them all you want, but you still need to follow that plan. But regardless, you have to define a schedule for consequences. C, an intervention that requires you to work on your resolve. Is resolve behavior analytic in nature? It's not. All right. Resolve is this hypothetical construct. And then D, none of these. No. What is going to be the most appropriate intervention is an intervention that's going to define when and how you provide your own consequences, not with the help of your partner and not working on your hypothetical construct resolve, but providing your own consequences on a set and determined schedule. Consider a behavior that is on a concurrent schedule of reinforcement. The learner in question hates math and reading. If the RBT gives a token for a correct response after 5 minutes of reading and after 10 minutes of math, what will be the assumption about the learner's response effort? Concurrent schedules, otherwise known as matching law, choice is when schedules are occurring at the same time and we're choosing between them, right? And what our law says, or what our theory says, or however you want to phrase it, says, wherever reinforcement is coming from, that's where behavior tends to go. And if you get reinforcement more often in one scenario, you're going to be responding in that scenario more often. So in this case, we're making an assumption about the learner's response effort based on a concurrent schedule of reinforcement. We know they hate math and reading, so there's no preference. The RBT is given a token after 5 minutes of reading and after 10 minutes of math. So what we just said, what would your assumption be here? If behavior follows the reinforcement and tends to match the schedules, well, behavior is going to occur much more often with reading than with math. Because I can read for 5 minutes, get a token. Then I can read for 5 more minutes, get another token. It's going to take me that amount of time to get one token in math. So I might do 5 minutes of reading, do 5 minutes of math, do 5 more minutes of reading, 5 more minutes of math. In that case, I've gotten 3 tokens. Behavior is going to match the schedule. So what is your assumption? A, the learner would work on reading twice as much as math. Sure. If they're going to get tokens twice as often, they're going to, we assume, work twice as much on the behavior of reading, which is going to produce tokens twice as much. B, the learner would work on math twice as much as reading. It's going to be the opposite, right? They've got to work twice as hard for math to produce less than the reinforcement for reading. The learner would work on neither. That's never going to be our assumption. And then D, the learner would work on each one equally, but rotate between activities. They might rotate, but it's not going to be equal. They might do 5 minutes of reading, get a token, 5 math, 5 more minutes of reading, get another token, 5 more math, get another token. That's going to be the most efficient way to collect the most tokens. And that's how behavior tends to follow. So what's going to be the assumption? Well, the learner would work on reading twice as much as math. And you notice I even had to catch myself up, okay? When you get in these convoluted questions, you need to slow down, double and triple check you're picking the right answer. Sometimes Mac uses the wrong toothbrush in the morning. His wife bought him a blue toothbrush and she has a pink one. This is considered a what? Yeah, we've been doing a lot of cues and prompts lately, right? Sometimes we're just in that mode, right? We want to reinforce this idea of cues and prompts and what they are, how are they same, how are they different. So again, when you see cue, think prompt. In this case, Mac uses the wrong toothbrush in the morning. His wife bought him a blue toothbrush. She has a pink one. So the wife has changed an aspect of the stimulus to evoke a behavior. So is it a movement cue? Remember, a movement cue is a gesture. She is not gesturing. She's changing something about the actual stimulus in question. It's a redundancy cue. You're changing something about your stimulus to evoke a behavior. She simply changed the color and paired that color with the correct response. Now Mac knows to go grab the blue toothbrush. It isn't a physical cue. She's not physically prompting him. And it isn't acting on the response, right? She's acting on the stimulus itself. She's changing an aspect of the stimulus to pair with a response. In this case, changing it to blue to pair with grabbing the correct toothbrush. So it's considered a redundancy cue. Self-management is an effective way to promote generalization of skills across environments. The type of change that defines self-management is what type of change? We talked about self-management earlier. We gave the definition. This is a little fluency check, and every now and then fluency checks are good. What is our definition of self-management? Well, we know it's applying behavior principles to one's own self in order to do what? We're trying to make a change. And what kind of change are we trying to make? Is it a positive change, a negative change, a desired change, or any change? Well, it's not going to be any change because any change has no purpose, right? What about a positive or negative change? Well, it really depends. Now, we might assume that most changes we want them to be positive, okay? But things happen. So really, if you're designing your own self-management plan, you're just trying to produce the desired change. What is your goal? What are you trying to accomplish? You're essentially saying, my self-management plan is designed to meet my goals, to meet my desired change. So the type of change that defines self-management is C, a desired change. Which of the following differential reinforcement procedures teaches a replacement behavior? All right, again, a little fluency check just to make sure you've been doing your fluency. Never stop doing fluency. Even if you feel that you know everything back and forward, you need to continue doing fluency at least a little bit every single day. Now, which of these teaches a replacement behavior? Of our DROs, or I should say of our differential reinforcement procedures, we have DRIs, DRAs, DROs, DRDs, DOLs, and DRHs. Only 2 of those truly teach a target replacement behavior. With the DRO, you're reinforcing other behaviors, but you're not really teaching a replacement. You're just reinforcing anything else in the absence of a behavior. With the DRI and a DRA, you're actually choosing a replacement behavior to teach. Now, with the DRL and a DRH, we're not changing the behavior we're teaching. The DRL, we're trying to decrease it. DRH, we're trying to increase it. So of these differential reinforcement procedures, what teaches a replacement behavior? DRL, DRO, DRH, well, it's going to be none of the above. None of these teach a true replacement behavior. A DRO does not teach a replacement behavior, right? We're simply looking for the absence of a behavior to occur, and we're reinforcing at any point, which is what makes DRO sometimes a little dangerous to use if you're not careful about what you're reinforcing instead. So, which of the following differential reinforcement procedures teaches a replacement behavior? D, none of the above. Fantastic. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. As always, questions, comments, let us know. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.